There are so many flowers you can paint just with a round brush. For this reason, in this video, I'm going to show you how to paint 5 flowers with a round brush. You will be able to change a little bit the shape, the colors, and the sizes of these flowers to create 1,000 of different flower compositions. Are you ready? Let's start painting. So in this video, I want to show you how to create 5 flowers with a round brush. You can create these flowers using a small round brush or a larger size. For the first flower, I'm going to use my smaller round brush in size 6, and this sort of flower is going to be something like a daisy. So I start from the center and I create a small dot by using the tip of the brush. And for this flower is not exactly a daisy, it can be a daisy. I take any color from my color palette, for example blue color, and I just use the tip and the belly of the brush to create the petals, and then I remove part of the pigment in the cup of water, and with a different color value I keep creating the petals of this flower. If you don't like how the center is becoming too dark because it's touching the blue, you can remove with a dry brush the excessive amount of blue, and we can redefine the center of this flower with some yellow pigment. This is lemon yellow, and we let it shine again, so it's not a problem. And then you can create the stem of your flower. And then you can create leaves, for example. To create the leaves, you add some pressure, you create the first half, and then pressure and second half. And if you want, you can let other greens blend while the green is still wet. To define better the center of these flowers, you can add some brush strokes in yellow ochre, for example. You can add through the wet on dry technique some additional brush strokes to give some more definitions to these petals. Another flower that we can create with a round brush, very simple. I call this a generic flower, so it doesn't have to be anything too specific. Is obtained by, I will still use this round brush in size 6, and I mix a little bit of Quinacridone Magenta. And I created this brush, I want a little bit more water on my brush. I created the first layer of this flower. I start from the petals, and I wanted the first layer to be quite light, so the color value is quite light, and I use the side of the brush to create the shape of the petals. I leave, as you see, some white spaces, and basically I create the petals of this second flower. This is a bigger flower, and I make it now that is open. I created the petals with a very light value of pink in this case, and the petals have some white spaces, so the color of the paper comes in hand here to define the shape of these flower. And I can let some of this pink blend into the center of this, I call it a generic flower. With this dark blue, I just create the center of this flower. I took a little bit of green, and I can create, starting from the center, a nice stem, and if I want, I can add the leaf. With the same brush, I can create the famous rose. Rose is one of the flowers that are created the most, I would say, with a round brush. And usually I take some red in this case, and I start from the center of the rose. I use just the tip and a very concentrated amount of red, and I just create some circle to create the center of this rose. So as you can see, the center is created by adding to the page some C shapes, and they are very concentrated. I then remove part of the pigment in the cup of water. I remove the excessive amount of water from the brush, and then with this ratio water pigment, I start to add more pressure, and I start to use the belly of my brush to create the external petals. And I keep doing this to create a bigger size rose. The important thing to keep in mind for all the flowers in watercolor, but especially probably with a rose, is to keep in mind to leave the white spaces when you're creating your petals. And here you have your rose. Another flower that you can paint with your round brush is the peony. Let's create this peony in a different color. I take a little bit of Quinacridone Purple from my color palette. And with a very concentrated Quinacridone Purple on the brush, I start to create the first petal just by adding some pressure and releasing the pressure. I remove a part of the pigment in the cup of water. I remove the excessive amount of water on the brush, and then I keep creating another couple of petals of this color that are lighter in color, lighter in value, because I have removed part of the pigment in the cup of water. And then using a little bit of Quinacridone Magenta, I'm adding a few brush strokes, left and right. When I add these brush strokes, I like the lighter value brush stroke to touch the stroke that I've created that has a higher amount of pigment, in order to allow some wet in wet technique happen. I'm trying to give a round shape because overall the peony has a round shape. And usually the petals that I have in the external part are a little bit lighter, but then I like to add some wet in wet. This is a peony that is opening. I can create the stem with the same round brush, and I can create leaf that are of this shape. The last flower I want to show you is, I call it a filling flower. It is no flower in particular, but it's a flower that I usually add in my compositions when I want to remove some empty spaces from my flower compositions. I create this in yellow because I think yellow at the moment is a bit missing. And to create this sort of filling flower, I will create it here. And I created these filling flowers as usually with a wider base, and they have a sort of cone shape towards the upper part. And basically they are created with petals in sort of round shape by just touching the paper with the tip and the belly of the brush and leaving some white spaces between these petals. You can add a simple stem starting from the center of this flower, and if you want, what I like to do is to add also within the white spaces here and there some brush strokes in green color that represent the stem in the center part of this filling flower. And there you have it. I'd like just to add another touch to the second flower we have created. You can add these brush strokes or not, depending if you like it or not. But I just want to show you an option of giving even more, or let's say a different effect to these flowers by adding a few brush strokes that define better the petals. my whole idea with this video is to give you the options of seeing how to create, in this case, 5 quite simple flowers. And I want to remind you that changing the shape a little bit of these flowers, for example, this flower can be a little bit smaller, we can put the flowers in different directions, or we can have, for example, a rose that is not as round but a little bit maybe with an oval shape, changing the colors, and in particular adding these flowers in different parts of your flower compositions. You can obtain very different flower compositions, but always playing with these main 5 basic shapes. So I hope this video was interesting, and I hope it will give you some ideas to create new flower compositions. I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.